hell. I've just noticed that I'm measuring from the wrong side. Fortunately I did an arrow. That's the side that I routed square. Ha ha ha, so I'll have to rub these out and do them again. Right, just need to think of a way to make some kind of jig to keep the saw at right angles to the edge and vertical. So I'll be back when I've thought of that. Right, this is the jig I've made for cutting the fret slots. I've done one already and it seems to be working. I've attached these pieces of oak to a piece of plywood. So these are screwed in from underneath and they're exactly the gap between them is exactly right for the fretboard to fit in. So it's quite a snug fit. And I've set these up so that they're exactly at right angles to the channel, and then I put these in next to them and then butted them up and then ran down the slot with the saw to open it up to a tight fit. This is the saw I'm using, junior hacksaw. It is a little bit small really, so I may have to get something else to increase the size of the slots but very slightly. The other one I've tried is this, which is a fret saw. You'd think a fret saw would be good for frets, wouldn't you? But it's a bit too big. I have read that people flatten the kerf of the saw a little bit to make it narrower. So that's a possibility, but I thought I'd make the slots first, and if they're a bit too narrow I can increase them, but I can't make them smaller. And the bit of tape is to get the depth. Alright, so that's what I'm doing. Well, I finished cutting the fret slots and they've come out pretty well in general. I just hope they're in the right place. But I won't know that really until I try and play it, but they seem to be pretty close to the measurements that I made, so it should be okay. The only slight problem I had with my jig was that the saw blade seems to have curved very slightly in a couple of places, but I think it should be okay. So now I need to glue it onto the neck. What I need to do is drill a couple of holes, one at either end, and put some panel pins in and cut the head off, and then get the positioning right and push down so that I can drill a little hole in here to position this to stop it swirling around with the glue. So that's what I'll do next. Well, I think the easiest way to cut these off will be with a Dremel. So I've drilled a couple of small holes in the back of the fretboard using a drill with a bit of tape on it to avoid going too deep, hopefully. And so let's see if it'll fit on. Right. Okay. Glue. Right, I've taped up the channel so that it doesn't get glue in it, and I'll take that off just before I stick it down. I'm going to use a bit of this on the centre of the truss rod just to try and stop it rattling. I highly recommend that you get some of this, but I don't know what it's called. It's made by 3M, this particular stuff. It's black, it's very sticky, and it's very good for sticking loads and loads of stuff to loads of other stuff. It comes on a roll like a tape, and apparently it used to be used for sticking car windscreens in, but I don't think they do that anymore. So you can just pull a little piece off, and I'm going to stretch it out and squash it down and just put that there. Right, the moment of truth. Well, looks alright, I think. So we can trim that off, and then I've got to try and invent a method of radiusing it. But so far, so good. Let's see what the thickness is. .6. So there's a tiny bit of available depth for sanding it down. Not very much, to be honest, but hey ho, should be just about enough. So that's looking good.